Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TMI on our ITV network. And today we're taking a look at Ekweremadu's verdict. Yes, Ekweremadu's verdict, the implication, the impact on Nigeria's UK relationship. Now, despite the fact that our president, Muhammadu Buhari, made an appeal to the UK government to temper justice with mercy, despite the ECOWAS court, so to speak, they wrote also to the UK government to please don't just go all out to punish a Nigerian senator because he was apprehended while he was still serving. You have to consider Nigerian-UK relationship. Despite the appeal, even King Charles was also called, to please intervene. A sentence was handed down and was approximately 10 years for Ekweremadu, about 6 years or thereabouts for the wife, and of course 10 years approximately for the doctor that was involved with the racketeering also. We have been asking this question. If it would be other countries, will UK be so keen to hand down this sentence on the 7th senator in other crimes? What if he's a member of parliament? Maybe, just maybe, someone in France, someone in the UK. What about a 7th senator in Japan? You just name it. Would they have meted out this kind of sentence to a 7th senator of these countries mentioned? That is what we're taking a look at today. The implication. With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, a human rights activist. He's fully into labor. It's been a while since we had him on set. Yeah, in fact, both of them, it's been a while we had him on set. I'd like to welcome Barrister Robinson Imade. Welcome to TMI on this edition.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your coming.
Good morning, yeah.
And of course, Barrister King's also a vibrant youth, and a legal practitioner. It's like also, you disappeared also though. You followed this step. And you guys disappeared for a while. Welcome, Barrister King.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming.
Good morning, viewers.
All right. Now, to the topic of discourse. When all this started, he was a 7th senator, despite the fact that he was one time, a deputy, or let's say a Senate president. He did his own bit. All of a sudden, God, nature, did the feel that this will happen to the family. Daughter had kidney issues, and of course, he went out to sort for a donor. The rest is history. But he was apprehended, taken to court. In due course, a sentence was made. Approximately 10 years. In all of this that played at Barrister Robinson Imade, what do you feel about this? Particularly from the beginning of everything that happened, despite the fact the man gave reason why he did it, even appealed to their conscience that, look, he had no choice. His daughter's life is at stake, or was at stake. Take it up from there.
Well, thank you very much. I listened to your introduction, and it's interesting. I heard you say the doctor was involved in the racketeering. So it was a case of racketeering. You also mentioned some countries, if it were their senators, would these sentences have been meted out? I look at the countries you mentioned. Is Nigeria in the same pedestal? That's one, too. When you look at these,
that is a low blow. That is a low blow.
Dispassionately, the question I will ask as a lawyer is, was there an offense? Was the cause of justice met? Was the trial free, fair, and credible, as we say in Nigeria? Was he guilty? If he was guilty, then the question of, should the sentence have been handed down should not arise, unless we look at it from the eyes of a Nigerian. What I think we should be asking for is clemency. an offense was committed, the culprits were tried, and they were found guilty and sentenced. That is what justice is about. Only yesterday, King Charles promised to serve the country with justice and mercy. And I would think that just now, almost the whole world, all those who mean well for Nigeria, who think that we could do whatever we like and perhaps not be punished, are asking for mercy, to tamper the same justice with mercy. The two capital things he said he was going to rule with. That's how I want to look at it. Otherwise, Ekweremadu was Deputy Senate President for at least 3 times in Nigeria. He was there for very many years. And everything you read about him will tell you a multi-millionaire. How did that affect the environment? How did that affect Nigeria as an entity? What did he do to enhance our health care deficits in Nigeria? And what role did he play in the trafficking of the young, innocent guy who didn't even know what the kidney was? I agree that as for respect for Nigeria, having chastised us by handing down this judgment, justice, which I think is the case just now, should be tempered with mercy. But to now say, oh, what will happen to the Nigeria-UK relations? I don't know what you're talking about. We are at the receiving end here, and everybody is appealing. The question we should perhaps ask is, will a UK parliamentarian have the need or cause to do what Ekweremadu has done? No. Why? Because they have been able to create a country where healthcare is affordable, where healthcare is at its prime, where healthcare is attractive. That is why our Nigerians, especially the politicians, when they have as little as headache, they run abroad. Was Nigeria the way Nigeria is now? Can you compare it with how Nigeria was in the 70s and 80s? Are we moving forward or backwards? I pity the daughter. It wasn't her fault that she took ill. But again, I think that clemency should be what we should be asking for, rather than wanting to say, oh, we are a nation, we have good relations. Civil relationship, and who suffers? The UK.
Okay. I'll come back to you on that. Barrister King,
yeah.
What's your view on this?
Yeah, like my learned colleague have said, when we are faced with issues like this, we tend to think as lawyers, and we try to remove sentiment from the issue. The facts before the court, Ekweremadu was involved in trafficking this young man to the UK for exploitation. And the prosecution in court, they were able to establish that. Then what follows? What follows is conviction and sentencing. That is what the UK court has done. Now, on the issue of if this, in your comparison, were to be a parliamentarian in the UK, in the US or in France, would there have been a different judgment or decision? I really don't think so. And also, I really don't think that this issue of Ekweremadu is enough to sever the diplomatic relationship between the UK and Nigeria. Like my learned senior just said, you can't place Nigeria in the same pedestal with countries like the US.
You are towing that line.
That
was a low blow.
It's true. Yeah,
our president made an appeal.
See, sir, we should bring ourselves to reality. To start with, there's a way Nigerian the Nigerian government relate with this Western world. You see the Western world coming out, dishing out orders to you, oh, transgender issue, gay rights, and all that. They tend to tell us what to do because of the way they perceive us. And we also perceive them as a form of a savior. We need 50 billion, we go to France to borrow. We need this, we go to Paris Club to borrow. These are things that reduce your estimation in the eyes of other countries, where in the international community you ought to be equal. What are you bringing to the table? Now let's go away from all that. The issue before us is the issue of justice and what the ECOWAS have been saying, what the former president Olusegun Obasanjo have been appealing, crying for, begging for clemency, and asking that justice be tempered with mercy. That is okay. We can do that. It is acceptable practice in the international community. But to say that the UK, what the decision they've handed down ought not to be because a parliamentarian is involved is not a good line of thought. The reason being that as a country on this issue, the camera of the world, the eyes of the international community is focused on what this country is going to do. And they have a role, a noble role, to protect the integrity of their institutions. And I think that is what they've done. Now, would the UK government give heed or pay heed to the plea for clemency? They might. But that doesn't mean that the judiciary, the courts, would not pass its judgment. Because if the Crown, for instance, come to say, or the Prime Minister intervene, that would be against the principle of separation of power, which the country also seek to protect. So let the court do their business. Let them pass the judgment. It may occur, it may happen in the nearest future that Ekweremadu may not serve the approximately 10 years imprisonment sentence. And the wife, if you cast your mind back, we're talking about justice. The daughter was also indicted at the beginning. Yeah. It took about 14 hours, of argument in court for, the jury to say, oh, let's take her away because she didn't play any role. Her role is limited in terms of the elements of the crime before court. So this is a country that has their own integrity to protect. Now let's turn it around. Like always, what if it's a rare case, we don't believe it will happen, but what if the lawmaker is a UK citizen and the Nigerian court is to sit and adjudicate on this issue? If Nigeria court told the part of not doing the proper thing, it just shows the holes in our institution. Mind you, cast our mind back in history, a former governor of Delta State, he was arraigned before a UK court and judgment was given. He served 13 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 13 years. That same person was set free in Nigeria of almost similar charges. So it tells you that this is a country that have the interest and the integrity of their institution to protect. But here, we have this Nigerian mentality. We shouldn't see things in the narrow spectrum of using the Nigerian eye to say, oh, a lawmaker. The fact that you are a lawmaker should be dissociated from the issues at hand. Let the court handle their business. Then, as a serious country, we can use communication in our diplomatic channels to further, have a dialogue, appeal to the conscience of the government, your authorities, and let's see what can be done. Because, like I told a colleague of mine, this is a national embarrassment, if you ask me. It's not just because Ekweremadu as an individual is involved. He was a serving lawmaker in Nigeria before all this happened. And in all his travels, the Nigerian, you can't dissociate Nigerian from the Nigerian government, the name Nigeria from it, because he's supposed to be an epitome of someone that
is impeccable.
Yes, impeccable. Someone that's upright. And this, the issue goes beyond all what we have said. If we have, you know, proper working and hospitals, such things ought not to happen in the first place.
All right. I'll come back to you, Kings. Now, apart from former president, two-term president of Nigeria, well, let's say three-term, also count him as a military head of state, made an appeal. Tampered justice with mercy. That is on one hand. Now, as a bloc, West African states, they came together, made that same appeal. Tampered justice with mercy. And of course, our president also reached out to King Charles III to please tell his court, his people, this is one of our own. Tampered justice with mercy. Despite that, a sentence was meted. If you're to be Joe Biden that made an appeal, do you think the UK system or the courts, because I've been thinking about this, would they carry out that, would they hand them that same sentence? Take it up from there, Barrister.
I'm almost 100% sure that Joe Biden would not have made an attempt to scuttle because of justice.
Not to scuttle now. Appeal for clemency. That's what they're saying. But like,
clemency will only come after the judgment. Yeah. Okay? And not during the course of judgment. It is only a Nigerian judiciary, with due respect, that probably would have listened to such appeals from Joe Biden. I'm not sure a Ghanaian judge would have listened to that. How would they have said it? Because Joe Biden has asked for assistance in this matter, he is no longer guilty. The court must begin and end its assignment and make pronouncement. Guilty as charged, sentenced, and if the executive now feels like King Charles has the power to say, okay, forget about this. The only way the court would not have done its job is for, in Nigeria, for example, a nollie prosecute to have been given by the president, say don't prosecute. Then the whole world would have asked, if this man went against our laws, why are you saying she should not be prosecuted? I'm sure that Obasanjo knows that he wrote, in any case, not to the clerk of the court, who would not have been able to say, oh, Obasanjo just later, so Judge, please don't do your job.
No, they didn't say don't do your job. They said tamper justice with mercy. How
would they have done it? To now say that the person, the maximum sentence is not 10 years. In any case, Ekweremadu was not given 10 years. He was given 9 years and 8 months.
Approximately 10 years.
All right. And his wife was given 6 years and half.
And half. Approximately 7 years.
And
the doctor also the same
thing. If you listen, the doctor is pure 10 years.
10 years.
If you listen to the judge, Ecomoms were poured on Ekwuremadu's wife, her activities, say, and the others. But that would not scuttle the cause of justice. I do not agree with you that because a senator is involved, every person is equal before the law. Every person. Be you a senator, unless you have, what they call it, you have immunity. Ekweremadu, even in our own legal system, does not enjoy immunity. So are you saying if it happened here, because he is or was a service senator, he would not have been prosecuted? Have we reduced our legal system to that ebb?
I think you should want to answer that question.
I am saying, my position is that the UK judge has done what he's supposed to do. If he has done anything otherwise, it would have tarnished the image of their judicial system.
Exactly.
Just now, the whole world, Obasanjo can write again. You can write. I think maybe I wrote yesterday, or I will write tomorrow. We cannot begin to shamefully ask for clemency. Otherwise, you are looking at the capacity of Ekweremadu, his position, his standing in society, and he fell to that level of trafficking a street boy from Lagos to save his daughter's life. I am a father, I have 2 daughters. And I know that that kind of passion will push you to doing anything. Did Ekweremadu ever talk one-on-one with the boy? No. Did the boy know what exactly he was going for? No. Ekweremadu paid 4.5 million to the boy, and the doctor gave him 270,000 naira only. The boy did not know what he was going for. All of these cast deep aspersions on Nigeria and on our professionals. And we are here saying, oh, if it were America, would the same have done? Would an American parliamentarian have done the same thing as Ekweremadu has done? I don't think so. But I know the pains of a father. I know that the guy Ekweremadu was desperate, his wife was. The daughter said as much. It is not to say that the UK judge or court has done anything wrong by passing down this judgment. It is only after a while, and King Charles does not use his powers of clemency to respect Nigeria. Because the country has handed down the judgment. The whole world will silently hail the country for doing that. But if King Charles, not Prince anymore, King Charles now decides, okay, because of the appeal from Obasanjo, from Imade Robinson, the ECOWAS court, and the likes, we grant clemency, let him just go. It does not remove the fact that justice has been done. We are now here clamoring, oh, why would the cause of justice not have been scuttled? Why would the judge not have passed a judgment of 2-day sentence? That's not the way it works. The way it works is let the court do its job. That is why people in Nigeria say, oh, our judiciary or our courts give a black market judgment. It would have amounted to black market judgment if this was not done. Now that this has been done, the judgment is sacrosanct, but does not... it's
not cast in stones?
It's not cast in stones. The king has the prerogative to still grant mercy. And he promised, like I said earlier, to rule with justice and mercy. That mercy is what we are asking. I'm also joining the myriads of Nigerians asking for clemency to ask the king to temper justice with mercy. But justice, in my opinion, must be done, and justice has been done.
All right. Now, is this before the king only? Or can the court, at least after delivering judgment, you are in the legal profession, both of you, after delivering judgment, and of course an appeal was made, please temper justice with mercy, clemency, because that's what they are all writing for.
True.
Do you think it's going to work?
Well,
the king honor that?
Well, like I said before, the court should be allowed to do its work.
They've done their part already.
And that is what the court has done.
Yes.
And we applaud the court for doing that. However, what we are asking for is clemency. And we believe that it is within the purview of the UK government to, by way of prerogative of mercy, grant same to Ekweremadu, the wife, because what we're looking at, again, is the state of the daughter. She may have this, oh, I'm the reason why my parents are going through this, or why they are having this travail and
She
all
says
that.
so.
She said
So
that,
we shouldn't put all that out of place. But again, we also inherited this legal system from the UK. In Nigeria today, a person can be sentenced, the court has done its job beautiful, then we have cases where the governor or the president, as it were, would now come to say, okay, the Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, we grant Al-Embassy a mercy, we pardon him, that's the word, and so on and so forth. And some of these things are done for, to ensure warm international relations to continue to exist, and also some for political reasons, some even for security reasons. So you can't take that out of the context. But again, the court has done its job. We'll continue to see good Nigerians and people of good interest, because what has happened to Ekweremadu, I really don't think he has full understanding of the workings of the UK law. Many of us really didn't have understanding of the UK Modern Slavery Act of 2015 is to many persons is relatively new. And some of the sections there, you know, law does not accord itself at all times with common sense, but with logic. Law always accords itself with logic, but what you think is commonsensical may negate what the law is saying. What the UK law tries to protect individuals, you know, who otherwise in other crimes would not, and that law would not enjoy such protection. Now, for instance, if you look at what Ekweremadu has done, if you look at it holistically, such things can happen in Nigeria, and I tell you, he would not be said to have committed any offense, because there are no laws prescribing to that extent of his involvement and qualifying that as an offense in Nigeria. So it could possibly happen to many persons. So we need not cry further or feel too sad about ourselves or the state of our nation, but what we should do now is to salvage the situation and ask for clemency and ask that justice, you know, be tempered with mercy.
All right, all right. Well, before calling to wrap on this segment, we have two things to talk about today. Do you see King Charles III listening to Nigeria? Because right now, our president, he has written, he's made an appeal. Former president also did the same. ECOWAS court, people have been writing and writing, please, please, clemency, mercy, mercy. Do you see a reduction in the sentence if by adventure he chooses to listen? Or do you even think he's going to listen?
Well, if you ask my candid opinion, I will tell you for free that King Charles will listen. I don't see him not listening, especially as the act hadn't really been done. He will listen, but if we think that there will be an outright pardon, then we may be missing the point. I think that at least to serve as deterrent to other people, especially Nigerians.
Nigerians, and you are a Nigerian.
I'm a Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian. I'm sure that Ekweremadu will be punished. But that punishment, don't forget that he's supposed to serve, is it 2/3 of the sentence? Yeah. Already by the court, the wife is to serve half the sentence. Yeah. It will be drastically reduced. The worst that will happen is, okay, it's okay. King Charles may say, oh, he's been in detention for this period. Let that period serve the sentence. Okay? And there's no way he won't listen. Nigeria is still dear to the UK, but not dear enough for them to make mess of their judicial system. King Charles, I think, will listen. I know will listen.
You know he'll listen?
I know he will listen.
Do you...
And, but the punishment as handed down was deserved by Ekweremadu.
Do you think the king will listen?
Before I go into that, my learned senior mentioned that when he was talking about that the judgment should serve as a deterrent to persons who may be nursing the idea of venturing to the same despicable trade. He mentioned that especially Nigerians. Well, I think that we should, Nigeria is not an entirely, you know, bad country. There are countries who are worse off in decent, despicable trade than Nigerians. So when you say especially
Nigerians are getting more involved.
When you say especially Nigerians, there are persons even, you know, online listening to this talk. You now look as if we are specialists in this trade.
No, you're getting it wrong. Okay, finish. I will just.
You now look as if we are specialists in this trade. You see, like I was saying, what Ekweremadu did, I think he has a limited knowledge of the UK law. If he knew exactly the implication of what he was doing, he wouldn't have, even if he wanted to do it, have been more intelligently. Because for you to rise to become the deputy senator, you just can't be stupid to procure someone, you know, traffic him into the UK without him knowing what he's doing, and you seek to exploit him because there's an element of deceit already
But he said he wasn't aware. He gave 4.5 million. The doctor,
Yeah.
in fact,
Again.
from a particular tribe, gave the guy 250,000 out of 4.5 million.
They said, but the fact before the court
Yes.
said that there's an element of deceit.
Deceit, okay.
Yes, that is where the exploitation comes in.
No,
If you are trafficking a person, it's either by force, you are using force, or you are using deceit. But the person, even there is a law in the UK that, you know, is against, you know, and that regulates organ donation, and the law seeks to decommercialize it, the process. You can't just come and say, okay, we are trading in organs, or we are doing no. That is, but in Nigeria, we don't have law that seek to do all of this. Now, to your question, sir, will King Charles, you know, listen? First of all, I think that the UK government should address the issues. You know, people coming asking for clemency, authorities, the ECOWAS. You know, we should know. You don't just act as if these persons have not spoken or they've not requested something from you. So I believe he will come out, the government will come out to speak on this issue. Then at the end, there will be a form of clemency. But will the clemency we're talking about, will it just be total or entire? I don't think so. Ekweremadu have been in detention for some time, and I believe he still has some time to serve. Like I said initially, I don't believe he will serve the entire 9 years and 8 months.
Yeah.
So there should be, and I believe there would be some form of intervention. And the UK government will have to listen, because they also have, you know, benefits from the Nigerian government. Nigeria as a whole, we are one of the closest allies to the UK. So we also seek to preserve and protect that relationship. So I hope and I believe that the UK government would listen and will also temper justice with mercy.
We want to react to one of his points.
Yes. Let me quickly say this. When I say that Ekweremadu deserves to be punished so as to serve as deterrent to others, not strictly on this organ harvesting issue, generally. That's one. Two, when you say that Nigerians are not all bad people, Ekweremadu, it is not correct. It can never be true that Ekweremadu did not know of the UK laws. Ekweremadu tried to shield himself from this. He made the doctor discuss with the guy. He called him the guy all through their conversation, all right, and never met him one-on-one because he was shading himself. And again, he lied that the guy was cousin to the daughter.
To Sonia.
To Sonia, the daughter. He lied. When I say especially Nigerians, we have penchant for doing what we know is wrong. Are we not aware that the Nigerian law is not against corruption? Has Nigeria not become fantastically corrupt? Does corruption not pervade the spectrum of our society, especially the political class? Are we not aware that when we are in governance or in government, we should use our position and powers to help the poor, to create enabling environment? The health sector is not in comatose. Why would a Nigerian deputy Senate president for 3 terms, ECOWAS president and ECOWAS deputy deputy president, go all out to seek a mere organ transplant, kidney transplant in the UK?
So
why not in Nigeria?
It wasn't mere. The daughter's life was at stake.
Exactly.
That's true.
So are we saying that Nigeria, I agree with you, are we saying that Nigeria cannot have such a hospital that can do that?
Good question.
Has it not been in government for long enough to be able to ensure that this thing is done? Buhari spent a good number of months or years of his administration in the UK, seeking medical attention. What has he done about the state of our healthcare today? Nigerians have penchant for corruption, for doing what is wrong, and for not doing that
which...
By
saying Nigerians, you're generalizing, not all Nigerians.
Most Nigerians,
Good.
many Nigerians. The few Nigerians who are not involved are not in a position. At the end of the day, anybody that has that's in the political class in Nigeria sees it as an opportunity to enrich himself, his family, and so on and so forth. That's what we see among the political class. And they are the ones who are supposed to be able. If, God forbid, my daughter have this problem, will I have the money to take her abroad for organ transplant? Is the Nigerian government thinking about people like us? If I say Nigerians, I'm talking about the political class. And they know that they are doing a disservice to this country. Give me 10 good politicians in Nigeria.
I'm beginning to think. I'm beginning to think right now. Yes, now, Kings.
You see,
Yes.
we've moved a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
You know,
you
we've moved
know
a
what?
bit,
You know,
but I
you know
want
what?
I want to comment on that.
You just hold on. Just hold on to that comment of yours. Okay, I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue this discussion. Then we'll delve into May 29, political state of the nation. Don't go away. We will be right back. Please hold on to that thought of yours.
Thank you.
Okay? All right.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is TMI on our ITV network, and we are taking a look at Ekwuramadu's verdict, the implication or the impact in Nigerian-UK relations. I have Barrister Robertson Imade and, of course, Barrister Kings Obasi speaking their minds, their views on this particular topic. And just joining us right now in the studio, he was one permanent secretary, Minister of Agriculture, right? And, of course, Vice Chairman, right, Nigeria Labour Congress, Edo State Chapter. He is an educationist. You just name it, but on this platform, he is a political analyst. Join me to welcome, I almost called you a freedom fighter because of the labor insulator thing. Bashir Kaduri, appreciate your coming, sir.
It's my pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Nigeria is a great country, and God will give us victory.
Give us victory. Even because of Ekwuramadu. I'll come to you on that, sir. So you're having an opinion. I have to, like, pause for a while. Please give a voice to the thoughts you had.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Truly, Nigeria is a country where the political elites have a lot of impunity, and they can do certain things and go away with it. And if you look at the issue of Ekwuremadu, it is very sad because it's what ought not to have happened in the first place if our health systems are well in place. But again, Nigerians, we have this passion for always calling out the political elites and passing the blame on them. You see, we practice a democratic system, and I will tell you, sir, democracy only flourishes where all the stakeholders see democracy as the only game in town. There must be participation of all stakeholders. You don't have, lawmakers, the members of the executives going the right way. You have the right to recall them, even if the Nigerian political system. Yes, your guy is laughing.
The right to recall.
Yes, the right to recall them, even if the Nigerian political system, the way it's arranged, it seems impossible. But constant, engagement. Okay, if go cast your mind back 2001 or 2020, who could believe that what happened in Nigeria, the EndSARS, would happen? Nobody believed. Who believed that Obi could rally around the country and raise the kind of support he had from the people? Cast your mind back 3 years before that time. Nobody was saying no, it's not possible. It's either PDP or APC. So we must continue to engage these persons. We must continue to come out as, yes, at first it may not be possible, but when the masses, when the people put their hands together to say we will achieve this, I believe it is achievable. Because when it comes to governance, the person you have donated your power to, you have ceded some of your rights to, he's acting in a way that, no, what you are doing is not what we asked you to do. You have a right as a people to come out and caution such persons. But again, in Nigeria, those persons who are coming out to say, oh, this man is doing this, when they get there, they tend, I don't know how on earth it happens.
They keep doing the same thing.
Even do worse. They tend to be worse off. So, but again, we must continue to try.
Yes.
Nigeria is a great country. I love my country. If I don't love Nigeria, I wouldn't be in Nigeria today. I know many of my colleagues, professionals, and they've been out of this country. I love my country, and I believe that Nigeria will work.
All
So we
right.
must continue to put our hands together to ensure it works.
It works.
And leave the blaming and all that. Let's all put our heads together and make
All
it work.
right, all right, all right. Bashir Kadri, you'll be talking more about this Ekweremadu's verdict, and I believe you have one or two things to still hold dive into the next topic. But what do you have to say about all this? Sentences have been meted already, approximately 10 years. Approximately 10 years, 9 years, 8 months, okay? And for the wife also 6 years and some months. For the doctor, strictly 10 years. And now we are asked for clemency. President Rhodes is going to meet King Charles. Obasanjo did the same thing. ECOWAS court did the same thing. But still, the judgment is there. What can you make out of all this?
Well, I'm not a legal person, so I won't pretend to understand the legality. But I'll take it from the moral perspective.
Moral perspective.
Yes.
All right.
Now, the entire concept was built on deceit. And I think because the average African man have a background of monarchical tendencies, we are still yet to be purged out of our monarchical history. Every man wants to become the monarch of the time. A lot of them, their fathers or grandfathers were either slaves or they were either workers in the palace. So the idea of I want to be like a palace man is still riding the head of the average African man. And that concept will take time to purge. And that is why you find a lot of things that are happening now, they are happening because people believe in this ownership. I'm in charge. I take control. The imperial majesty tendency. Whatever I want, I get. Nobody can stop me. Even when we talk about democracy, our democracy is still not in tune with our reality. And that is why I discovered that democracy is sometimes I think it's like a facade where people are told that they decided and when they didn't decide. And now, so all of that, for me, they are part of the social dynamics because society is dynamic and changes are necessary because they must come. They may be slow, but they must come. Malcolm X once told us, an idea whose time has come, no man can stop it. If you do, like a man standing in the front of a moving train, and it will crush you. Nigeria had a tendency, and we are moving. But the pace is slow, like I said, because of our historical background. We still work in the monarchical tendency. Every young man wants to be like the prince. He carries a bead and puts a bead in his hand, says, when he have no idea of where the palace is. A lot of them want to claim princehood, and they tell you that their forefathers, their whatever was close to the palace, and all of that, my mother and all of that. But that is historical problem, which of course affect our psyche. That explains some of the issues you are seeing today. Sometimes we don't take history very seriously, but they influence those things we do, even when we don't know that they influence them. So Ekweremadu is not an exception to that kind of thoughts, where you have to get an agent to get somebody, and this person wants to help your daughter to come out of the jam, and your daughter is at a risk. I sympathize because the emotions attached to father and daughter are great. I sympathize. But you see, anything you are doing without following a due process, it will run you into serious trouble. You do not undermine the man who wants to help you. You give him the feeling as if he's your son. You bring him up and talk to him, understand him, and see his psyche. The young man can't speak good English, and the white man says he can't speak good English, so he doesn't even understand what they were talking about. And when they say donate, he said donate money, he has no money to donate. and those kind of things gave clear picture that the young man was like deceived to believe what was not. And ironically, the unfortunate experience is that our country have 3 basic tribes, the Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausas. A lot of these problems keep occurring at different points. Issues of ritual, issues of part selling, and all of that. But you see, the drama here is that this judgment has brought to fore that it's not business as usual. One day, a criminal will be caught. One day, if it's not him, somebody close to him will be caught. And then he will not begin to ask questions. You see, because nothing you do in this world that is hidden from God. I think sometimes we live as if we are God. And we are not God. The mystical, the metaphysical explanation to this is that the great big men, the quote big men, should now learn from this. They may have been doing it before. A lot of them have been doing it before. It's possible they've been doing it before, some of them, and nothing happened. People are just carried away. They are cowed. They are reduced into like tools, and they use them and they dump them. Some will pass on. Some will live on with the pains of that experience. But here you are. Today, history is now being recorded. that even the rich do cry. One scholar wrote a work, a literary work, that even the rich do cry. Many people do not understand. If you read the work of John Plowman, it's a pseudonym. John Plowman told us, he said, there's what the poor had that the rich doesn't have, and he wished to have. He said, the rich have money. The poor have tummy. And because the poor have tummy, he can eat. The rich have no tummy. He has money, but he cannot eat. So there's a kind of crisis here. So, but the point I'm trying to make here is this, is that Ekweremadu's experience should be a learning process for several other big boys, and even small boys. Let me tell you, unfortunately, it's not even just the rich men alone. Sometimes the rich are even unnecessarily being pummeled. They are more oppressed some of the time. But everything that happens is the rich. Even if the laborer you hired to go and supervise people to work, you paid him good money. The laborer sat at the middle and take the money, half the money, and put it in his pocket and pay the boy's patronage sum. The matter blow up. They say the rich man is unfair. In this discussion, there are issues I must take. One of them is that Ekweremadu paid his agent, even though I didn't see it as morally standing, 4-point-something million to give to the young man. He said, give to the young man. And the agent took that money and put it in his pocket and gave the young man 270,000. And this young man is the one whose life is on the line. Possibly like committing suicide. If he survives, Hosanna. If he doesn't survive, he has planned for it. And yet, the man just took the money and just kept it to himself. Is that supposed to be the terrible mischief and wickedness? Is that man Ekweremadu?
He's also a big man.
No. Hold on a minute. I'll tell you why. At the level of Ekweremadu, he might not be a big man.
At the level of the small boy, he might say no.
At the level of Ekweremadu, who is dealing with Derek, don't forget, Ekweremadu didn't deal with the boy. He was dealing with the man. So the man is the subject of my discussion here. Because we are talking about our country to come out of these woods. And if we must talk about it, we must talk about the causation. What are the causal issues? Well, why Nigeria is going the way it's going is because we're looking at the consequence. We're not talking about the causation. Every issue has a causation. And to solve that problem, we must have a causal effect. If you handle the causation, then you have handled the issue. The consequence will not even arise again. And that is the problem we have. That is why we have this logical crisis, where we see the top and say, oh, this is it. A man has a house, and the house is painted beautifully well, and the content of the house is simply mud. It remains a mud forever. Even if you paint the house with all kind of gold paint, it does not change the fact that the house is a mud house. So here we are. The man who did that thing was assumed to be a man who is also a human being, who has conscience. And he decided to use the young man as a trade material and make himself enrich, and he wants to live and be happy. How? You see, man is made of duality, the spirit and the physical. Sorry, this is not a religious sitting, but that is the truth. And until we recognize that no matter what we do in the physical, and we think we are smart, in spiritual, we cannot control them. The consequences must come the way they must come. That is why today, Ekweremadu is not the subject matter, and as big as he is, taking senatorial seat as one of the classicals. A man has sat at that level, is now suddenly looking like a beggar, looking for clemency, and people are begging for him like a small boy walking in the street. Why can't other big men learn? So for me, it's a lesson. It's a school that we are, with all the story we're talking about now, it's a school, because for us in moral content, we look at every experience as a training point, because the life is a school, and who does not learn from that life must keep falling on this. Ekweremadu should be an example for others to learn. People beg for clemency for him. It's natural. It's natural. I don't blame them. But what I blame them for is that they didn't look at the moral content as deep as that was, to look at what message is it passing. If we allow this to go, will it not form a new precedent, according to the legal people, a new precedent in the annals of our political history, that when anything happens tomorrow again, the same thing will be followed, that, oh, this is what happened, and this is what happened. The Western world might decide, after some time, to say, okay, let's reduce the sentence and bring it down a bit, so that we can still keep a relationship with Nigeria. But the message I'm making here is that the lesson has been learned. Whether he's giving 1 day, or he's giving 2 days, the message has been learned. Let other Nigerians begin to think fast.
Right. Thank you so much, comrade. Three of you, like you, are just so spectacular in this segment, talking about what you feel about the Ekweremadu's verdict and, of course, the UK-Nigeria relations. They said, look, even enough of the choose not to show clemency. That's what people said, even enough for, because take a look at the crime. According to the analysis, it's a crime, but the king might just listen. Question number one. The person in that caliber of Ekweremadu, or anyone in his capacity, is that person not financially buoyant enough to give Nigerians at least one standard hospital that can take care of the ailment of kidney transplant, even heart transplant? Our politicians, our well-to-do citizens move from Nigeria to other countries due to health reasons. If they put their heads together, do you think they'll be so colossal that anything about health care can be dealt with by them by simply erecting structures, medical facilities that can take care of these challenges? We have people that are wealthy enough to build such infrastructure that so many persons can even go to such an establishment for free medical treatment. We have that financial power. So the big question now is, why are we not seeing it here? Our beloved president also spent months outside Nigeria for medical treatment. I mean, is that not enough for us to say enough is enough to these financial drains? Is it not high time we built a hospital, even two in each state of the federation, to take care of all this? Maybe heart transplant, kidney transplant, liver transplant, lung transplant. We have the money. What is stopping us? Learn from the Ekweremadu debacle. Let's see if the king would listen. Let's see if the UK would listen. But they choose to listen or not, the heavens will not fall. We pray. If they value us, though, they'll listen.
No, not that they value us.
If they value us.
No. If they,
because this Nigeria.
No, my dear. It's when you say value us, you are saying that Nigerians celebrate criminality.
Exactly.
It's not value us. I think if they feel in their heart that it's necessary to help this man, let them do. But not if they value Nigeria, because Nigeria is not anchored on criminality.
Exactly.
So now I make this point. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to interject you, but I just thought I have responsibility.
Yes.
Now the second thing you had just mentioned now, which is beautiful, that they should build hospitals. But I think what is more deep is that the content and the human resource of this country has been tweaked. That only the odds make the law, and the law are not the odds.
The odds.
Everybody. We blame, we point finger, we point finger, we point finger. You have the hospitals. Many years ago when I was growing up as a small boy, my brother, hospitals were well equipped. But do you know what happened? The workers, some of the workers there will trade on the hospital's drugs in their own private pharmacy. They will trade on whatever the hospital have in their own private hospitals. And that's why I said I am talking from the moral perspective. When we talk about Nigeria is not doing well, let all of us individually examine ourselves. What role are we playing in our small cocoon that is not making it work?
All right.
And if we do that, we will have a great country. But if you have a hospital today that's a world class, and you have the human resource who are corrupt, that hospital in few months, in few years, it will come down.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, you heard him. You say value us, that means all about criminality, but at least we should value relationship. Anyhow, anyhow you want to do it, value relationship. If you really value relationship, please consider what he did definitely was wrong. We're not saying that is right, no. But at least value relationship. After all, we're amongst the Commonwealth nation. King, please listen. I know he's watching. You have to listen. Anyhow, just anyhow you have to do it. Tamper justice with mercy. After all, you vow to rule with justice and, of course, mercy. Now we are asking for clemency. He has learned his lesson. He has learned his lessons. The rest is up to the UK government and, of course, the monarch.